Hello, ECED 303 students. This is Professor Zavallo Martin, and I'm going to give you an overview for week one. First of all, I just completed a quick video course overview, and I wanted to let you know that I've already embedded it here in the course information, and I will also embed it in the announcements. But let's go ahead and go to week one. So in week one, we're going to get started on language and literacy development. Language development, the reading process. You have several readings for this week. One is by Dorothy Strickland, available at Reading Rockets, and I have checked these links. I know they're working. Here it is. So this is about policy and practice in the preschool years, and it just kind of gives an overview for what children are learning and what we should be supporting teachers in language and literacy. Great concise article. There's also an NAEYC position statement on early learning standards, and so of course this will give you some idea about standards in general, in early education. And then we have, you should also be looking at week 5, the assignment descriptions for the observations and reflections, just so that you can start planning, some settings to observe. You'll need to select 2 age groups settings, ages 0 to 2, 3 to 5, or TK to 3rd grade, in which to observe. So we'll go over those in detail in some of our sessions, but just get yourself familiar with that idea so that you can get your schedule together. I know everybody's really busy, so that's something you want to look ahead to. You'll also be looking ahead, it doesn't say it here, maybe I'll add that in here. You want to look ahead to your personal history literacy assignment that's due in week 7, because we're going to be working on that a little bit this week as well. So you also want to read the Chicken Dance chapters 1 and 6 for this week. So those are your preparations. The graded work this week are a discussion board and a reflective journal. So going to the reflective journal first. The reflective journal, what's great about this reflective journal this week is that it's actually giving you a leg up on your personal literacy history that's due week 7. Part of your personal literacy history, and we're going to take a look at that, is writing some of your experiences. So in this reflective journal this week, you're going to get started on writing some of about your own literacy development and the ways it's impacted your learning. So for this reflective journal, you want to answer the questions that you see here on the screen and that you'll see in the folder. What do you remember about your earliest reading and writing experiences? Some of us might remember when we first learned to read and write, and you want to, just describe that. And of course, you want to describe things in as much detail as you can. That's going to serve you well later. Did someone read to you? What do you remember about it if that did happen? What purposes did you see people for which you saw people reading? So did you see people reading, newspapers in your house, magazines? Did they study, etc.? Did you visit the library? And this includes school libraries. And if you so what did you bring home? And what do you remember about your learning experiences, including teachers, that had a negative or positive impact on your literacy development? So then at the end of the entry, you also want to include a bulleted list of literacy experiences you think have influenced you on your journey. This is going to be part of the personal literacy history due in week 7, and you might add to those experiences as you go through the course, because you'll need 20 to 30 by the time you get to that assignment. So let's just take a little detour here before we go to the discussion board and look at the personal literacy history assignment, which might be a mystery to you at this point. So this assignment is due in week 7, and that may seem like a long way off, but the reason that we're looking at it is because we're going to start thinking about it and working on it week by week. Week 1, that's this week, is where you begin, and it even says so in the assignment instructions. So if you just take a look at these assignments, this is not a really long paper, but it is a pretty detailed paper, and it's very explicit in terms of the instructions. There's going to be an introduction that you'll have to have a little bit more information on language and literacy before you write that introduction, but there is going to be one. And then there's a section on my literacy experiences, and this is what you're kind of getting started on right now. You might not, be able to code it all in terms of what type of experiences it is right now, but you're going to start listing them. So that's what we were just talking about in the reflection, that you're going to create a bulleted list after you answer the questions of particular literacy experiences. Now, you're not going to have 20 or 30 this week, but you're just going to get started on it. You'll also be making an event map of your, kind of a graphic, and we'll talk about some more resources to do that later. You'll have a personal reflection, which is also going to be based on this week's reflection. So this week's reflection will be part of, sections 2, sections 3, and sections 4 of this paper. So that's the reason that we're looking ahead and taking a look at it, because you're actually going to start building it right now. Okay, going back to week 1. The other assignment that is due, and I noticed a little bit late that this does not have an introduction where you're going to introduce yourself, so we'll do that next week. In week 2, we're going to do a video introduction of ourselves on the discussion board. But for this week, you need to read in the Strickland and look at the 5 issues, the following 5 issues in developing language and literacy. So the prompt is to read about these issues in the Strickland, and the Strickland article. So there's no reason to be late this week because the reading is really going to be on this article. So you're going to look at the development of language and literacy standards, effective curriculum, accountability and assessment, teacher education and professional development, and the homeschool connection. And your main post, identify 2 of these you think are important and why. Be sure to use this week's readings and outside sources to justify your position. So if you do not yet have the the purchased books, you can look at other sources for this. And when I am grading discussion boards, of course, I am using the discussion board rubric and looking to see that you're using in-text citations. This week would be a week that in-text citations would be needed. So because you're integrating different information. So when you write your main post, which is due this today, Wednesday at midnight, make sure that you have a substantial post that also includes in-text citations. And then when you are responding to your colleagues in your reply posts, you might also be integrating some of the readings. So that's basically week 1. And one more little tiny item I want to just go over real quick is that thank you for those 13 of you that have responded to the poll that I did about meetings. I'll do weekly meetings in which we'll go over all of the assignments, and it's not showing us, it's somehow has unloaded, but right now the leading time is Tuesdays 6 to 7. Just wanted to give you that little tidbit of information. Okay, everyone, I will see you soon, and make sure to take the poll if you haven't, and I look forward to working with you. This is going to be a really fun course.